Okay, you ready?
Yeah, go ahead.
Hi, Aid. How you doing?
Hi, Erin. Really good, thanks.
Great.
Thanks for
Hey,
the
guys.
opportunity to speak with you.
Not a problem. Hi, guys. Today we have Adrian Wenban on the call with us, and Adrian is the principal of BCC Chiropractic College in Barcelona. Adrian, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hi, Erin. Yeah, so I'm BCC's principal at the moment. I've been in place since the college started. We started with our first cohort in 2009, and I was brought to the table before that as someone to coordinate the team, which included yourself in developing the college, the founders, if you like. My background prior to that, I graduated out of Australia. I did an anatomy degree, did my chiropractic, and then went and did a master's in clinical epidemiology, which is kind of relevant to our present situation because it looks at the distribution and determinants of health and disease. So it's an interesting time where my past threads all come together, I guess, and provide an opportunity for us to do something really special with chiropractic education going forward.
Yeah. And how is BCC right now? How's it dealing during this whole COVID crisis?
Yeah, I think it's, just like everyone, it's come as a bit of a shock, I think, and it's required us to work on our feet and quickly. Initially, when we were informed, I think it was about the 14th or 15th of March, that things would be shut down for a period of time, rather than going straight online, because we realized that we were in agreement that by way of the Board of Governors and the Executive Committee of the college, that we definitely wanted to continue to push through the academic year. A number of different institutions in chiropractic and outside immediately closed their doors until the next academic year. But we were committed to make sure that we could get those students who had already enrolled through the academic year. So we took 2 weeks off. We pushed the whole curriculum back by 2 weeks, and we spent 2 weeks with our clinic closed and with students not having classes, giving them the opportunity. We have a very diverse student population. We have students, majority of our students come from outside Spain, about 70%.
And did they leave during the thing? They went home?
Some did. About half went home because they felt the pressure. We have quite a few students from Italy, from France, from Germany, from Finland, and they wanted to get back to family.
Sure.
So we felt it was appropriate to give them the 2 weeks with no classes, not pushing forward to organize their location. We encouraged them to, if they needed to go home, to do that. We felt that we'd be able to go to online teaching after the 2 weeks, and that they would then be able to reinitiate classes. And so we spent 2 weeks, the administration, the teaching team, worked very, very hard across those 2 weeks to take our whole program, the 5-year full-time program, from being largely classroom-based to an online live streaming setting.
Right. And how many students do you have at BCC now?
We have about 150 at the moment. Those students are spread across the 5 years. It's a 5-year full-time program. Students are, to this date, have all been required to attend classes. We have an 80% attendance class, except for anatomy and technique, where they have to have 100% attendance. Same thing with clinic. And so people live in Barcelona. They come and live here for the 5 years. So a lot of them went back home. We reinitiated classes after the 2 weeks, and we did it for 1 week. We piloted everything. We surveyed the students, administration, our tech people, and the teachers to see what needed to be changed, how it went. We had very good feedback from everyone. We made a few changes and then started again the week after Easter, again piloting that week and gradually introducing this as the modus operandi for the moment.
So you had a really relaxing quarantine period then, it sounds like.
Yeah, we were in lockdown, and there's 6 of us in our apartment, so it's a pretty
working like crazy. Yeah.
And of course, everything, even the meetings with administration, which you usually do face to face, we're zooming that. So it's 8-10 hours a day just in front of the computer, which of course then at a personal level you've got to balance that. You've got your relationships which become intensified within the house, in the apartment, and then your physical well-being as well. We're very, very focused on a holistic approach to our health and well-being, personally, individually, and as we teach it from the college. And that presents some challenges. Exercising.
You're like used to doing like 10K runs, 50,000 kilometer bike rides. So how did you do that in your apartment?
Well, we're really lucky. We've got a central corridor which is quite wide. It's about 35 meters long, And so we actually set up some times where we would exercise in the corridor. I mean, the craziest thing I did is one day I did a 21-kilometer half marathon in the house. So, you know, most days it was more like I'm actually training for the World Championships, which are in 5 months' time, assuming they'll still happen. Yeah. And most days it's only a 7.5K run in the house. But yeah, we've pushed things a little bit, and there's a balance there for sure.
Yeah, well, it looks like from what you're wearing that you did get out and do some exercise today.
Yeah, we've started a 4-phase lift of the lockdown here in Spain. You know, I don't know if people listening know, but in Spain, they took quite radical measures and really did a blanket lockdown. And that's an interesting approach because it's very controversial amongst the epidemiologists. Coming from epidemiology, I still have a lot of contact with the epidemiological community. And there was not broad consensus on that being an appropriate approach. The idea of trying to flatten the curve, which is a lot of what you hear out there from the governments, from the politicians, if you think about it, flattening the curve isn't about decreasing the number of deaths or injury, it's just spreading it across time.
Yeah.
Which is crazy. I mean, surely the priority should be to bolster people's immune system and encourage them. Surely you'd put in place a health promotion program before you put in a social isolation program.
Well, I
that
suppose
was a lot of
there was the fear of the system cannot handle that, you know?
Yeah, but be aware that the priority of that approach is the system and not individuals' well-being. Why does one preclude the other? Why wouldn't you also immediately initiate a health promotion program to boost the health system of the most susceptible? Just crazy that hasn't happened, and speaks to government's priority, which is about their own ability to cope with a crisis as opposed to looking after the well-being of the individuals in that population.
Yeah, well, definitely it's happened. We can't change that, no? And it will be very, very, very interesting now to see the outcomes of it, you know? From a health perspective, I hate it that we are the experiment, but it will be definitely interesting to see what outcomes.
Well, there's that saying that hindsight is 20/20 vision. It's kind of interesting that this has happened in 2020, because I think when we look back at it, I think, you know, we're going to see that this was a point in time where we really did have an opportunity as a collective, both within the profession and on the you know, more broadly as a society, to start to look at just how we're doing things and the mindset that underpins this, and that it's just not sustainable.
Yeah.
I think the opportunity is there for us to step back and go, the story that we're telling ourselves on a society-wide level is completely flawed. This idea of endless economic growth and that we can all have everything that will make us all the more comfortable is so very flawed on many levels.
Yeah.
I think for us in chiropractic, and in terms of the content of what we're teaching as chiropractors, we have the opportunity to go back and reflect upon where this profession came from. And we came from a base that said there is this incredible universal intelligence that's in all matter, that constantly maintains it, gives it its properties and maintains it in existence, and that each and every one of us has part of that intelligence within us. The metaphor, which is a clinical metaphor, if you like, of universal intelligence, provides us with a metaphor that says we're all connected, all is one. And the beautiful thing about the innate metaphor, clinic metaphor, says that the power to control our future, our well-being, our health, our contribution, our human potentiation is within each and every one of us. And I think that's the story that society now needs. It's time for chiropractors to step above the idea that, you know, the priority should be, you know, announcing that there's no relationship between chiropractic adjustments and immunity. That, you know, for me, that's not a vision for the future of society. And I think we as a profession, with the beautiful clinical metaphors, the fundamental philosophical constructs that we've got, it's time for us to step up in terms of our education, empowering future leaders, in order to be able to go out there and go, look, there's another way to go forward here. If you take the bull by the horns in terms of your health, if you optimize your well-being, that internal capacity to be well, think about who are the people most at risk in this present crisis. It's people who are immunocompromised, no?
Exactly.
And the people, you know, this started with Dee. Dee said that his major question, the question that was foremost in his mind, was why one person sitting at a table, the same table as another, didn't get sick, didn't get unwell. You know, it's the foundation of a salutogenic process, a mindset that says, what are the determinants of health and how do I optimize those as opposed to running away and hiding from disease risk factors. If you take a proactive salutogenic approach, we have the potential to optimize our health and well-being where those risk factors and the deleterious, the adverse consequences becomes negligible.
Yeah. I mean, I know, and I'm sure everybody will have these stories as well of different families where somebody in the family was tested positive to COVID and the other family members were not. And they've actually been in isolation with this person for 6 weeks every day, you know, and they didn't get the virus, you know. So it's like, how come one and another not? Like, where does this come from?
That's an excellent question. And, you know, if you think about it, what are the main risk factors here? Obesity, we know. Diabetes, we know. Existing comorbidities that are immunocompromising, cardiovascular disease, all those things we know are underpinned by, for example, and predisposed in themselves by the existence of an imbalance in your autonomic nervous system. If you're in stress, if you're in fight, flight, your sympathetic nervous system is overstimulated, overdriven, becomes fatigued, and your immune system is compromised. On top of that, your parasympathetic is understimulated, and it's all about regulating and resolving inflammation.
Yeah.
If you have a look at the current crisis, the epidemiologists are starting to talk about the fact that at the back end of it, where people who are immunocompromised run into trouble here, it's not that they're getting the disease in the first place, it's that their own immune system goes rampant, and the cytokine storm that results is because they don't have the capacity to normally resolve the inflammation. Right. Which is all about vagal tone. You know, the epidemiologists know real well that you know the broader causes of and predisposing factors here are all about social determinants of health and disease. And you know, we need to start to give people an empowering model that says you have the locus of control to regulate where this goes, and right that's here. In here. That's heart and soul here. Yeah. And I think we need to help people find their way back to that, because society's got to the point where we all spend so much time, we've all got square eyes, we don't socially engage. One of the biggest determinants of morbidity and mortality is social engagement and its lack of. You know, this is a real wake-up call for us, and I think we have an opportunity as chiropractors to step to the forefront, tell a story that can start to serve humanity and lead the way forward.
Definitely. Wow. Yes. Thank you, Aid. I want to get back on track. Sorry, that was awesome. But tell me as well, like, what are you guys at BCC, or what's your opinion of the future of chiropractic education? Where do you see education going? Because for me, it's just blowing my mind about how we can be educated from this point on, you know? What's going on with BCC? What do you guys got planned?
Yeah, I think, again, huge opportunity here. You know, we have a strategic plan 220 to 224 that had already started to push in some of the directions that I think, in terms of how we're educating, it started to push in certain directions that I think this situation brings to the fore and actually helps us in resourcing and developing what we were looking at developing anyway. You know, there's the opportunity to become more competency-based. Competency-based education is an interesting shift from a more modular model that you and I were educated in. Right. Competency-based forces the team to go, okay, how do we want our graduates to look? It's a little bit like starting, like we did with the BCC, start with the end in mind and then work backwards. Right. You know, what are the characteristics of a inspiring chiropractor who's able to fully integrate the philosophy, science, and art of what we do and go out there and be a role model, an inspiring role model for their communities and the world at large? And then let's work back into the curriculum. So I think, you know, the push towards increasingly becoming, we have graduate competencies, but we have to work hard to increase the extent to which they feed back into the curriculum and making relevant the content that we've got there.
Right.
So I think that that's a big change. Moving to more online delivery, I think, is also something that we've started to move towards, and this has accelerated hugely.
Yeah.
Of course, because chiropractic is such a hands-on profession and requires so much hands-on education and training as well, there are limits to how much you can go online with that.
Yeah. So how do
But
you do that?
yeah, so but I think the opportunity is that if you look at the curriculum, probably as much as 50% of it is 30, 40, 50% of it is with people, with students and interns, bums on seats in a classroom, and that might be interactive, but they're essentially in a classroom. I think that component of the program of study can very successfully go online. We've done that across the last 3 weeks. We've got very good feedback from all the different points of reference involved, the IT people, administration, the Board of Governors, the external examiners, the students themselves. Very, very happy with the quality of that in general.
Right.
But how do you deal with the prac component and the clinic component as well are both more challenging. But going forward, we have plans for that. We've now got an exam and assessment strategy, which has just been approved. Students will come back in and start clinic. We think we can actually start to operationalize our clinic from as soon as about 10 days time. So our intention is to start to, again, it'll be with a lot of PPE in place. And ensuring that people are protected and appropriate, but we'll go back into that environment and start to provide students with the opportunity to get hands-on again. We also have plans that will provide them with the opportunity to do intensive blocks of clinic and intensive blocks of prac across into the summer, and then in September as well, before we start the next academic year. So the way that the prac components will be delivered is in much more intensive blocks, instead of spreading it across the year. And we're looking at increasingly doing that as we go forward into the curriculum as well. That, for example, might provide students with the opportunity, just like we have a lot of our teachers at distance who we fly in, it might provide students, part of what we're talking about is with the opportunity to maybe live part of the year at distance and come into the college and do intensive blocks of clinical training. There are already colleges that take that approach. CQU in Australia, McTimoney have a branch of their program that can be run in that way. They have a whole curriculum that can be done that way for people who are living at distance or who are working full-time or part-time as well. So we're definitely exploring those options. And I think that the way forward is very, very exciting, I think, for the education of chiropractors.
And are you in contact a lot with the other schools, the other chiropractic colleges? How have you found the educational world of chiropractic is during this moment? Like,
shifting greatly. There are definitely chiropractic programs that immediately just shut down for the rest of the academic year. We don't think that that's an answer. We don't think that's a call to arms that's being answered, in the best way, either for the team, the teaching, the administration team, nor for the students. We want to give them every opportunity, maintaining the best quality standards that we can. We certainly don't want to create some kind of schism or split between pre-COVID-19 graduates and post. Quality is foremost in our mind in relation to that. But again, it's getting innovative, it's getting creative, and it's starting to work with students and giving them some flexibility and latitude around how the program is run. And I think that that's the priority, is taking into consideration lots of different people's perspectives and then, leading and finding a way forward. We're in close dialogue. We've had contact with McTimoney. We've had contact with New Zealand, with Life West, all just like us, very, very excited about the opportunity that this requires, and that this offers us as institutions and as a profession. Now's the time to really step up and lead, I think, and for us to move forward. We've also had contact with ECCE, and they've been quite supportive as well in terms of developing innovative programs and assessment strategies. And I think they're very, very also focused and committed towards what's best for students here.
So Aid, if there's any people that are potential students or are interested in studying at BCC or know somebody that might be interested in studying at BCC, what should they do? How could they get in contact with the school?
Yeah, great. Thank you very much. We are very, very keen to have people apply and pursue a career in chiropractic. Again, we think that this is a moment in time where chiropractors have the opportunity to become at the very forefront of a true healthcare system. As we evolve and go forward, I think, the future for chiropractic is very bright. If people would like to contact us, they can do that by way of our website. You can actually fill out an application, the initial application form on the website. It's available there both in English and in Spanish. Contact Patricia, or they can contact both Patricia and they can contact Agostina. And at the end, I'll send you the email addresses for both of them, plus the BCC website that you can provide as an additional information.
Because definitely what you're saying, next year there's another cohort that you want to bring out. Like you're not stopping. Next year you're going to put another, and you can still apply for chiropractic school next year.
Yeah, and we have, we have a lot of applications at the moment. I think people are a little more tentative about actually signing on the bottom line and completing their application. So it provides people who are interested with a great opportunity to come in and make an application before that fills up for the next academic year.
Awesome. Hey, thank you so much. So happy to see that you went and you can do some sport, that you can get that energy out that you've got there. Better for your household, better for your head, your body too. And thank you so much for your hard work during this period too. And thank you for producing fantastic chiropractors as well.
You as well, Aaron. And that should be extended to you as one of the founders of the college and one of the initial members of the board of governors. Your contribution, hopefully you can see that everything that we do grows out of that work and that commitment and that love that you provided all those years ago. So thank you very much. And this service as well. I know a lot of people are really appreciative of this. So thank you very much. And for those of you that don't know, today is Mother's Day in Spain. So happy Mother's Day to you as well, Erin.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Bye,
Have a great
Ace.
day. Thank you. Bye-bye.